Okay, now one of the problems when you're carving delicate features, like the hands on this little squirrel, it really gets delicate. As you can see, the little fingers, and so you've really got to be careful. But you've got to define the space between his little paws and his head, and we're going to have to do that with a drill, because we don't want to get a lot of pressure in between there with our chisel, because we might break the hands off. But the very first step is to carve the hands and then to relieve the stone around it and behind it. And we're going to carve the head and the hands pretty much at the same time, but I think in the interest of being prudent, we need to finish the tail up front here so that we're not using our tools in here fashioning this when we've got our ears that are going to be very vulnerable to breakage. I'm going to get in here and define this tail and the back of his body, and I'm going to use a 3/8 inch carbide tip tool for that. Now 3/8 of an inch wide, you could use a steel tool or anything that's about that wide, and of course there's other tools you could do. You could even use this big tool, or this tool. I find that this works a little better for getting in here. And I spoke earlier about finishing the sculpture while you're roughing it out. And what I mean by that is, I could take the corner of my tool, just the corner, just the tip, and kind of scratch away and break away this material in here to the depth that I need. So at the same time I'm carving it down, I'm creating the texture to mimic the hair of the squirrel. Now you probably noticed that I'm carving this like on a radius, because his back, as you know, the ribs come around the backbone like this, and the hair follows down this way, and so this is kind of emanates from his, this is basically his knee. His hip is back here, this is his hip, this is his femur that comes up to meet his knee, and then his tibia goes down to his ankle, and this is his foot. His little foot is down in here. Now, as I said before, you don't need a lot of tools to do a stone carving, but there are a lot of tools that come in very handy for certain situations. Now in here, we've got a really tight space. And so, if I was to take a flat chisel and try and cut that in there, it's very difficult to get this undercut right here, which is basically, we're cutting in pretty much straight right here. But I can't do that with this tool because I wind up hitting this part. In order to get this line, I'm hitting this part. I can't do that. So what we have here is a tool that's cut on sort of a, oh, like that, so that I can get in there and dig it out. Well, we got a lot done since we finished our last film, and a lot of it is not on footage because our battery on our camera went dead. So we missed a lot of what went on here with the tail and whatnot. But right now, we're going to think about carving some leaves down here. And there's all kinds of different oak leaves. I sort of like the ones that have the rounded tips as opposed to the ones that have the pointed tips. But these leaves take all sorts of interesting shapes as they dry in the autumn winds, and so they really lend themselves to a lot of different shapes. And so what I usually try and do is I usually try and mimic what I've already got from breaking the stone. So what I think I'm going to do is have a leaf come down like this. To start, that'll be the top leaf, and then we can work other leaves around it and maybe throw some acorns in here and there. So we can use a couple different tools here. These are called Gouges because they're kind of like a scoop or a spoon. They gouge out shapes. On a leaf, you've got the main vein, and then you've got the veins that come out that support this part of the leaf. So everything radiates towards the center. So you move your chisel that way, and you're done. You've carved it. So basically what we're doing is we're using the corner of our chisel, and we're cutting this line. This line is actually a broken stone, but we make a smooth cut on either side of it and leave about a 1/16 of an inch between our cuts, and then that creates the darkness where the stone has been broken, and it gives us a line for the vein of our leaf. And leaves are like snowflakes. They're all just a little bit different. So you have to worry about making something that's, say, perfect. It's not going to happen. So don't sweat it. Whatever comes out, comes out. So maybe we'll just echo this shape here. We'll have another one coming down here. And that'll be buried underneath this one. Okay, their feet have joints just like a hand or a foot. So like these are the knuckles here, and these are the lower knuckles and the fingers, or whatever you want to call them. And then you have the claw part down here. Now we're going to try and add some interest by putting a couple of acorn shapes in here somewhere. And I think our chisel will tell us where they're supposed to be. Basically what I've done is I've taken this claw tooth chisel and I've made an X shape to kind of suggest that the acorn top, which has sort of a checkered top to it. I find that as I get older I don't have the patience or the skills left to really create something dynamic, but I'm doing the best I can, and hopefully you'll be able to get some idea of how the stone carving process works.